A furious diplomatic and legal row has broken out between China and Taiwan, and Kenya is in the middle of it. Taiwan is enraged that the African nation deported dozens of Taiwanese nationals after acquitting them on cybercrime charges, but they didn't send them to Taiwan. They sent them to mainland China. Now, this video purports to show the Taiwanese group barricading itself in a Kenyan jail cell to avoid deportation. When the group arrived in China, authorities marched them into waiting buses with their heads covered in black hoods. China praised Kenya for respecting its one China policy, and a spokesman said China is launching its own criminal investigation of the group.
As these criminals carried out their illegal activities abroad, and all the victims are residents on the mainland naturally has legal jurisdiction. What's more, the country in question also has diplomatic relations with us. So, in order to investigate all the facts of the case, and in line with the principles of investigating the truth, the legal department will begin investigative work strictly in line with the law.
All right, lots to talk about here. Taiwan calls it all an illegal abduction and is sending a delegation to Beijing to deal with this. Jamie Metzl is a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council and a former executive vice president of the Asia Society. He's joining me from Washington. Thanks so much for your patience. I know we had to put you on hold for that Obama news conference. So thanks for sticking around. Sure. Just curious to know what you make of all this and how this is going to play out. I mean, it is kind of strange. You know, you have Kenya doing this at the behest of China. Just a lot of this just doesn't make sense.
Well, it doesn't make sense until you take a step back. And basically what this is about is the elections were held in Taiwan at the beginning of this year, and the Kuomintang, the Nationalist Party, lost, and the Democratic Progressive Party won. And so their leader is about to come in next month, and China is making a number of very strong statements to the Taiwanese government, the new Taiwanese government, that if you make trouble for us, we will make trouble for you. So first, last month, Gambia, which had recognized Taiwan for many years, switched and now recognizes Beijing. This is another step in that direction where there was a quote-unquote gentleman's agreement between Taiwan and China since 2011 dealing precisely with this kind of situation, and now China is going back on that agreement to make a statement to Taiwan.
So then what exactly is China's goal in all this? What do they want out of this? As you said, we know about the tensions increased after Taiwan elected this new president-elect who favors independence from China, you know, obviously in contrast to the previous president who was very pro-China. But what is China hoping to gain out of this?
Well, one point to clarify, Tsai Ing-wen, the incoming president, she doesn't formally support independence. That's part of the party's platform, but she's been very careful to say that she supports maintaining the status quo. But what China is doing is firing some shots across the bow to say, look, we've had pretty good, China-Taiwan relations have been pretty good and pretty stable over the past 8 years. And they're making a statement to the DPP that if things change, you can expect a lot of pain. And part of that will come in the general field of international relations, and whether it's recognition of Taiwan by other countries, and there's been a truce for these past 8 years, and with these kinds of diplomatic and quasi-diplomatic issues where China is basically rubbing Taiwan's nose in the dirt. The complicating issue, though, is that Taiwan's laws have changed, and so now agreements between Taiwan and China can't just be done through the executive branch. They have to be considered through the legislative yuan, the parliament. And because of that, perceptions of China within Taiwan are very important. So it's not just China pressuring Taiwan, but there will be a cost to China of this type of humiliation.
And in the bigger picture, Jamie, are we seeing a more and more aggressive and assertive China? You know, when we talk about the South China Sea, what happened to those Hong Kong missing booksellers who just suddenly turned up in the mainland saying that, you know, they weren't coerced to show up there? And of course, you have this incident in Kenya with these Taiwanese citizens being deported. I mean, do Taiwanese citizens or Hong Kongers have reason to be concerned about what might happen to them if they criticize the mainland?
Everybody in Asia and beyond Asia has reason to be concerned about China's extremely aggressive behavior in the South China Sea, in the East China Sea, and elsewhere. And it's good that you mentioned Hong Kong because people in Taiwan have watched Hong Kong carefully. And their perception is that China has not made good on its promise of one country, two systems. And when the pro-democracy movement in Hong Kong, was essentially squashed, people in Taiwan saw that and said, well, what kind of future is China promising Taiwan if they say they're going to respect our way of life, our governmental system, and our democracy? If they're not going to do it in Hong Kong, can we trust that they ever would have that kind of respect for Taiwan?
Yeah, good, absolutely good point. It makes sense that a lot of people might be concerned about China lately. Jamie Metzl, it's always great to have you on. Thanks so much.
Sure, my pleasure.